Yo, what's up? What's up, Sade? Tramadol, Wesley, Cameron, Aldo, what is up? Champagne Poppy, Yermo, Ronnie, yo, Trevor, dude, want to go over the this little fractal, right? AMC's lookalike, because I think it's important. I think we got to cover that. We got to cover that since we got this freaking green candle today, and I think now that we entered the point of interest, it's looking more and more likely that things are gonna end up playing out according to plan, right? It's looking more and more likely now that we do have this reversal. It's a clear reversal as well. I mean, doesn't get better than this. What up, though? What up? What is up, 2001? What's up, man? Hey, good to see you guys in here. Let's get it. All right. Yeah, man. Late night, little stream here. Okay, so I'm going to pull up a little stock. A little stock, man. This stock right here. All right. You guys can guess what stock this is if you're on the Discord. Wouldn't be fair, but if you want to guess what it is, go for it. You got to help your buddies out. This is AMC's lookalike right here. We got we got a match. We got a match. And it is not only a match, it's almost a perfect match. So we've been looking at this here in the Discord. This little fractal right here, this sneaky little fractal. And the structure of the pattern, man, is hitting all the levels to a T. I even have the pattern overlaid here on the chart. Let's go ahead and scale it back. Here we go. Now that it's being moved around. So there's a little fractal, right? And this fractal is obviously calling for upside. It's calling for upside this week. So this week going into next week, which is the point of interest we have on AMC, AMC's macro point of interest. And Nicola. It's not Nicola. It's, yeah, so Edi's got it. It is lucid. And lucid we just covered. So it's, I mean, this is the thing about fractals, guys. Sometimes when you're looking at cycles, other stocks in the market will play the same sequence on with that other stocks had, right? So this is one sequence that we had in lucid cycle back in 2021. And this entire, so a sequence is just it's a cycle. It's part of it's a part in a cycle. It's one sequence in the cycle, and this is what we have for lucid. So the fact that we're entering the point of interest here, that was previously the point of interest for lucid. Lucid just had a massive push to the upside here. And even lucid's chart looks very similar to this setup. It's one of the ways we were able to track lucid's 90% run. So you can tell right here, AMC is basically doing the same thing. It's doing the same chart that we had. So here's lucid. All right, 2021. Now the pattern where it starts right here. Right, and you can see that volume starts kicking in, it starts dying down a little bit. It's got the same setup, but what's important about this fractal here is, so we have a good match with the levels, but also the volume doesn't really start to kick in until the this massive wick here that we have. And this is basically calling for this either tomorrow or Thursday going into Friday. As you can see right here on AMC's chart. I'm trying to get this like perfect here. Let's do that. Okay, let's overlay it here. I just want to have the same. Okay, here we go. So you can see, right, on Lucid's chart, we also have a red candle followed by a green candle, which is what we have down here. Red candle, green candle. And then that next wick is basically a gap up. It almost gaps up and then just goes, right? It doesn't even come down. It doesn't have to play out this way, but it has been tracking since November. So this fractal here has been tracking since November. You can see that there are certain points in the fractal that don't track the same way. It's not the same exact setup. But overall, it's calling for upside. And that's what we want to track here because, you know, we have other patterns that we're tracking that also call for upside. And this is, you know, apart from the TA that we've been doing. TA is the very basic TA that you can really do with AMC at this point is just your support and resistance trend lines that we've been tracking. Those are, it's really as simple as it gets. This is, you know, it's the different approach of doing things using other patterns in the market. Because, yeah, I mean, that's how we track most plays here. Most plays are finding patterns, understanding that individual cycles, and just basically trading them off each other, like as these sectors circle around each other. So, but yeah, look at this, dude. Pretty cool. Right there. Yeah, make sure you guys are slapping that ask button, right? The like button, and share this with your wonderful friends. Get some peeps in here. Okay, so apart from the lookalike that we have, which is Lucid, for those that are just coming in, I do want to update everything else. So we'll kind of go over the market. We'll go over AMC. So again, Elliott wave still looks good to me. We got our first candle here, first green candle, V reversal, and then potentially a continuation tomorrow, create that third wave on the impulse, right? Elliott's impulse, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's typically what it's going to look like. That's what I'm calling for right there on this short-term push, which this could happen a lot sooner, as we saw with the chart here. And this is just showing you, based on these levels, us coming up to hit this wedge here. If this can play out completely different, this can come up all the way up here and then have resistance, come back up and do something like that. Remember, 3 and 4, or 2 to 3, which is the largest one on impulse. 4 and 5 can be very close. We saw this with Bitcoin. They're almost identical on the Bitcoin rally in 2021. Okay, it looks like this. And these two are almost the same size. So that works. We can do something like that, and this is one way to track it. This one up here would also hit that level of resistance here. So you guys already know this, but very basic stuff here with AMC. So this is just another pattern we're tracking that is calling for some upside, for more upside based on some of the levels. You can even see that why I really like this pattern is because of the levels as well. It would be more of a hectic push because this is calling for like $18, but that is a level of resistance on AMC. Okay, right there. And then you have $23 level, which is right before you get to resistance. You follow everything back. This was what they hedged for. Okay, once we had this massive run in June, they hedged for what was a $40 strike. It's not going to show it on this chart because this is a scaled chart, but AMC plus ape should have it. I can show you guys a little bit. Actually, we should just be charting on this AMC plus ape because, I mean, now that they oh, well, I mean, that's what I was going to talk about as well, man. I was going to talk about March 14th. What's going to happen on March 14th? Because, dude, bro, when this vote goes through, I had, I was misinformed myself, but on the Discord, I have freaking awesome people in there that remind me and do a lot of DD and can't thank them enough. But so it is confirmed that the split would take place the next day. So on the terms, you can read it up. If everybody votes yes, everything would basically happen the next day. But since it is a weekend, it would happen that Monday, following Monday. I'm sorry, it's not a weekend. It's Tuesday. What am I saying? 14th. So on the 15th is when it would take place, and I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that as well because it has a lot to do with this POI that we're about to see here. Okay, what am I doing? Okay. So I'm going to bring this right up here so we can calculate it like this. And this is now using AMC plus ape. So levels are going to be a little bit different on this chart. On this chart, you can see that the level of resistance comes to that $40 range that I talked about. So right there is where we have some kind of pullback on this fractal. So this one, again, this fractal is a little bit extreme. It's not my favorite. I don't think AMC's chart would replicate something exactly the same way, but I do think that from that initial push, that volatility push that we have here on this push to the upside is at least what we can expect in the short term, because this does line up with the cycle. So this, I think, is valid. The rest, I wouldn't pay too much attention to as far as this fractal, but I think that initial push looks pretty accurate. Daddy Powell gonna crush my dreams tomorrow? You think, dude? What is that called? The gambler's fallacy. I think Jim Cramer. I think the streak is done, man. I think the streak is done. Yeah, at some point, man, it's gonna fail. At some point, it's gonna fail. They can use it as a psychological. That it's the way that this whole thing works, right? You got your composite man. Yeah, at some point, he's gonna have the whole world believing that there is an inverse Cramer effect, right? And then at some point, when that streak is just no longer a thing, I think it's gonna be headline, right? Headline news. Cramer's set to buy, and then the stock starts to rally, right? Everything starts to rally. I think we're going to see something like that. We're going to see something like that probably soon, man. I don't. So here, let's pull up SPY, because let's pull up SPY. To be clear, up to this point here, because this right here has been something we've been expecting here, okay? Like this push that we just saw here, tracked it using very basic patterns in the market. The pattern scanner found like 6 or 7 that we've been tracking. They all call for upside. I could pull them up right here. One of them I've already talked about is AMC's blue pattern. So the levels that we talked about here, the 410 range, it is resistance. It has been hit. So yes, in the short term, we could come down. right? We can still come down in the short term, but that doesn't mean that we're going to have a crash. That doesn't mean that the market is doomed and that we're going to go, you know, and crash like '08 or whatever, right? That's not what this is saying. Now, potentially, we could see some kind of short-term correction. I'm going to pull up the patterns that I'm tracking right now. Okay, these are all patterns. They're not fractals. I want to make that clear. These are patterns that happened on the same time window on a different date. So this pattern right here just happened on it's a stock that played out at a different time. So back in 2013 or back in 2010, that's what this pattern scanner is doing. It's showing us the right time here. So this is why I like these patterns, because fractals work a little bit different. You take a fractal, you change the height, you manipulate it, and you can make it fit a lot, right? And they are valid, but not as much as these stocks here that have the same exact window. And you can't really manipulate the time here. It just happened on in a different time period, right? So a lot of these patterns here, you can see, I can overlay a lot of them for you, but you can see that they all call for some upside here. They all still call for a little bit of upside, but then there's this, right? There's the upside, and then there's a dump. And this dump here I've been talking about, it's the first initial fake out, okay, once you cross resistance. So it's not a dead cat, because a dead cat will just fall all the way back down, but it is a short-term fake out. Comes back down to test resistance, and then you see a bounce, okay? Here's one. Here's another. This is the one that I pulled up here on the Discord earlier, where I was like, okay, look, this one is obviously calling for way more downside, but this is not something I would be tracking here, because I'm personally not looking for a massive market dump, correction, crash, whatever you want to call it. I don't think that that's where we're headed to right now. I think it's going to take a couple of years for that to happen. I think we're going to come back near all-time highs again, or potentially even cross all-time highs in the next two years. So this right here is not something I would be paying attention to. I would only be paying attention to this part right here, the structure of the pattern. That's one. Here's another. Okay, you can see this one calls for upside, full upside, starts coming back up, and then here it just goes through. And I can, I'm zooming out on these so you guys can kind of see the structure, because it gives you a good idea of what we can potentially expect and visualize in the future, which is why I love this. Here, let's pull up. There's a couple of more. What happened to dude, I had one that was freaking perfect. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. So, dude, this one right here, I was like, I think this one is probably the most accurate one that I think is actually going to play out. Why? I mean, dude, this is just, it's accumulation right here. That's it. Imagine spending so much time, almost 2 years, almost 3 years, dude, just trading sideways after a massive pump in the market. So you have a massive pump in the market. What are you going to do next? You're going to take a breather, but you're going to fake out, dude, bulls and bears here. That's what you're doing. You're just faking out the bulls. You're faking out the bears. You're trading sideways. So I actually like this one a lot. Again, it is just a pattern, not a fractal, and it's projecting still some upside here in the short term to touch AMC's peak on the point of interest that we're tracking right now, which the peak is right around the 17th of February. And then it calls for downside, right? Whenever AMC peaks, that's normally when we see the market fall. right here, right? So we got a peak, fall, peak, fall. Where else? This one was an inverse point of interest, and the market still fell, right? From this moment on in November, downside, downside. So AMC is constantly pumping right before the market decides to come down. So here we have a clear market rally, right? This is a market rally since October, and then we now cross resistance. We're coming down. We're coming to a very important level of resistance, which is right around that 430. That's the next level of resistance. And we do have the FOMC tomorrow. So again, that's a lot of, I think a lot of people are expecting for volatility. And sure, I think we're going to see some volatility, except it's going to be a little bit different here because most stocks are calling for upside. Most patterns are calling for upside. But one thing that I think a lot of people are expecting here is like a drastic push to either the upside or downside. I'm actually just expecting sideways trading. I'm expecting this to initially fake out. We might have something where, we come down, say we come down to 300, 399, 400, and then the market fakes out again and starts coming back up. So what you're doing here is just you're crushing the IV, you're crushing the contracts, the premiums, and yeah, you're just trading this thing sideways until it just pops, and then you have that breather back down. A lot of expectations tomorrow, a lot of expectations. So, when there's high expectations, you normally get an IV crush. You get an IV crush in the market. So I'm not, like I said, man, I'm not expecting anything drastic. I think, regardless, a 10 point volatility here on SPY. So it going up $10, going down $10, that's still a lot. That's still considered a lot. But we've had worse here in the market, going to 400 here, 420. It's a pretty drastic candle. Back here, this was probably one of the worst we had, just back to back in June, where the market just dumped very quickly. So yeah, something like that I would not be expecting for tomorrow. Not for tomorrow. All right, let's see. Okay, so and I mentioned this on the last video, but say AMC starts to go up, we reach that $11 range on the projection here, maybe even go up to 14. SPY comes up, trade sideways here for a little bit, then starts coming down. This is where I'm going to talk about the reverse split, because the reverse split is, now we have a date, right? So I'm going to make a video on this later this week, but I want to talk about it here since you guys are on, you're live. Let's go on this chart. Okay, so let's go ahead and put our little timeline here. We have March 14th. So this is where the vote takes place. All right, this is where the vote takes place. And we got to put this guy in the middle. There we go. In the center, right there. Vote. Make it nice and big. There we go. Vote. Now, I don't know why I'm doing this, but maybe that won't work. Okay, so the vote takes place on the 14th. The actual split, if it's voted yes, if we vote yes and everything goes through, the split and the merge back, so APE goes back to AMC, would happen on the 15th, from my understanding, okay? Please correct me if I'm wrong, but we literally just went over this on the Discord. But, you know, anything, like, sometimes there's just stuff out there, and I'm like, well, I want to make it clear that that is what I read up on and saw, so that is what I'm going to go based on, those readings. So if that happens, that is when it takes place. Now, this is where we're going to pull up the other chart, because the other chart is this is the reference we've been using, like all these patterns and stuff. I talked about metamaterials. I posted a video on this about a month later when the West Christian talked about metamaterials and how they structured, how they were fighting the shorts, how they structured their setup here when they released their preferred shares, and how this basically caused a squeeze here, right? The price went from $3 to 21, and you can already kind of see the structure that's taking place here on this pattern. So how long did this take, right? This took 120 days from the previous POI. So what is the previous POI? Volume, right? Volume, you have 120 days where really nothing happens, okay? And then you have that inflow, you have that squeeze, okay? 120 days. We're going to copy that. We're going to paste it here. Oh, I forgot one thing. Splits on chart. There it is, split. Okay, so you have a split. It is a little different, but it's still a split, regardless of what the conversion, whatever the conversion is. It doesn't really matter. I think reverse splits at the end of the day are bearish. You don't really see reverse splits become bullish unless they're like, there was this one stock like a month ago or something where they released the news or something like early and it just like squeezed or whatever. Not like that. This is something we know about, so that's not how things would normally play out in the market. Yes, this is AMC. Anything could happen with AMC, but I'm going based on other stocks that have been in the meme community before. Metamaterials used to be Torchlight. It was a pretty massive stock in the Reddit community. Okay, they had this. They also had support.com, which is now Gree. Okay, that was also pretty big stock on Wall Street Bets and all that, Twitter, everywhere. So I'm going based off of those that we've seen before. So 120 days from the vote is right here. Okay, and you can see that this is inflow and volume. It's still inflow and volume. This is actually a point of interest on AMC, okay? So keep that in mind for this. Let's pull up the cycle. All right, so here's the POI. Here's the volume. From here, this is where it initially started, and this is found in the red portion of the cycle, which also has a micro point of interest right down here. We see happened before, okay? So this entire sequence here, you can see it comes up and then it comes down. It creates this sort of half cup, right, that we still haven't quite made yet. So that's 120 days from that moment on. You can see the same thing here. It comes up, comes back down, creates this kind of a cup, and then it starts coming back up, right? Now we have a mid-phase as well. Mid-phase is just where volume is a little bit drier, but you still have this what we call the projector pattern. So this could be a projector, and that's what initially kicks things off, and the price starts going up from that moment on. That moment on, you can see that pressure starts to build up, and then that's where you get your squeeze in the end when all the volume comes in. So on AMC's chart, okay, I'm going to take away the cycle now, pull it up on the daily. So this is when the vote, I'm not going to say vote because people are going to take that the wrong way. Like, I'm not telling anybody to vote. yes or no. That's up to you. That's not, I'm not giving any advice on any of that. Like, this is just when the vote takes place. I'm gonna do it like that. All right, when vote takes place, 120 days from the vote. So what we had talked about here on the Discord was, if this point of interest that we're coming to is still bullish and we still climb back up, well, a couple of things are going to happen here, because based on some of the fractals that we tracked. So we have Lucid here, for example. You can see that on Lucid's fractal, I talk about how initially I believe that this would be part of the sequence that would play out. I think everything else you don't normally see play out on a lot of different stocks and patterns. I think Lucid had a very unique pattern play out on this fractal here. So you can see here, though, that the price goes up, and then up at this point where the vote takes place, this portion of it would probably play out inverse. And what I mean by that is because when reverse splits take place, you don't see, like, I pull up a stock or find a stock that has a reverse split that is bullish afterwards. It's rare. It's rare for that to happen. And that's why I'm like, I had talked about this previously, that if AMC squeezes before, it would make sense, because reverse split takes place, say that we're up here in the 27 or 40, wherever it goes, right? At that point, when the reverse split takes place, AMC is going to multiply by 10. Your shares are not going to your shares are going to change, but it's just going to be scaled differently. There's going to be a different ratio now. You're not going to get more profits or anything like that. It's going to stay the same. They're just going to convert it for a reverse split, right? So 1 to 10 means that wherever the price is at, if it's at $40, then it's going to go to 400. Right? So if it's at $40, it would go to 400. If it's at $20, well, it's going to go to 200, right? And so on. So this is why I don't want to get too ahead of myself here. I don't want to if it goes to right. So that's the conversion right here. And normally, when you have reverse splits, that does give the incentive or the opportunity for shorts to pile in, because the price is now a lot greater. It's a lot higher. So from a psychological standpoint, that is normally what happens. I can pull up many different stocks that have done this before where that is the case. And again, this is just from speculation, from what I've seen happen in the past. So short-term bullish, but at some point, AMC would probably come down for a little bit, if not set up to come back up in the future again. So this is more of like a short-term bullish, bearish type of a play here on the point of interest, especially if it lingers off and actually keeps going to the upside here. So we're gonna find out a lot. And again, I'm not limiting or giving price targets as far as like where I know AMC's price is going to go, because nobody knows where AMC's price is going to go. You can look at technicals all you want, but at some point, that level of resistance will break. At some point, that level of support will break. That's why they're there, right? Levels of resistance and support are there to keep the price within those ranges. But once they break out, they break out. And that is how we're treating this. We're treating it just like that. These are going to, the levels are going to stay and remain. But if they break, well, then they break, man. And then you look at the next level of resistance. You look at the next fib levels. You look at everything else that comes with it. That's all we're doing as far as technicals. It doesn't change what we've seen in the past here on AMC, which is the points of interest happen on these zones that we're coming in on. And that's, it's crazy that we're already starting to see that pressure build up. What else did dude, I talked about the IV today as well, man. The IV. All right, dude. So look, IV is another crazy one because IV. Do I have it here? Yeah, I do. So this right here that you're looking at down here is AMC's implied volatility. Implied volatility is the it's a derivatives. You can call it it's not really an indicator, but I guess you can call it it's measuring the implied volatility in the market. So normally the implied volatility in the market is going to look inverse to a stock's direction if the stock is not volatile. Like AMC, that it's a different case because it is. So there's a lot of volatility on AMC. You can see here on all the spikes, you have a spike on the volatility. So the cool thing about this is that it'll smooth out everything else and give you an overall direction on. You can treat it like a the stock chart. Some people like looking at the RSI and they draw their levels of resistance support. It's breaking those levels. Here we can see that the implied volatility is breaking resistance. Okay, so here's the implied volatility right now, and it's coming up to break August resistance, and okay, it's also coming up to potentially break June's resistance. And then you can kind of do the works here. It's making a massive cup. That's what it's doing. It's making a massive cup. So again, with AMC, what we've seen in the past is every time it goes up, the implied volatility goes up as well. This doesn't work the same way on the SPY or on these blue chip stocks, bigger stocks in the market. They will actually act inverse to it. A lot of implied volatility actually goes down when the stock goes up, and it goes up when the stock goes down. What else did I say? I said that we were trading at very similar levels to January as well. Look at this. January of 2021, back here. Right before, and it's just so it's just crazy that we are tracking this fractal or this pattern right here as well, that we are here in the sequence because we are tracking at similar levels in implied volatility right here, dude. Right before everything starts running. So see, like a lot of stuff, a lot of things here are adding up for this to continue to rise, for this to continue to go up. And I mean, that's the whole thing about TA, man. TA mixed with cycle analysis, stuff like this is just checking things off as they go. It's not about predicting or calling and promising that something's going to happen a certain way. No, this is about chance. It's about checking things off as they happen. That's it. And I've said this before, man. Like, this does not mean we're going to squeeze. This does not mean that we're going to go to 500 or whatever. This just means that everything's lining up. It looks good. The potential is great, and that's it. That's it. That is how TA should be treated at the end of the day. So that is the little tracking we have so far right now. We also have, let's see, a couple of other things to talk about. And yeah, if you guys want me to look up any stocks or track any stocks on the scanner, let me know. I can even pull up the scanner right now. We can track some stocks. Yeah, let's do this. Let's go ahead and pull up GME. Talk about GME as well. GME we were tracking a lot of patterns on GME. Look at this one we were tracking, dude. Pretty crazy pattern. Yeah, we were tracking this one, and it actually, so you could see it comes up to the same range. It's still calling for upside on AMC's point of interest. That's good. Look at this one. Right there. Same structure, still calling for upside. GME, so couple of things with GME, and GME is fair to look at in log. I think this one I would, just because I want to see what's going on back here, right? That's really what log is used for, is being able to scale out the price action from, you know, these very low numbers to these very high numbers. So with GME right now, you know, GameStop follows the same cycle as AMC, and we're going to be tracking it the same way. GME's structure is going to do basically the same thing, except one stock is going to go up higher than the other. They're going to go up at the same time, just one stock will go up higher than the other. Right now on GameStop, and let's pull up spots too. Spots does a really good job telling us a lot of different crypto currencies right now are actually doing the same structure as well. They are doing, actually, dude, let's pull that up, man, because right now we have, what do we got? LRC basically doing the same thing. Like, or have already done the same thing, basically. Most of these, I think LRC is also setting up to continue, but the structure, right? The structure. So here you can see that we have this kind of like, almost, it's kind of a triple top, but it also kind of looks like a head and shoulders pattern. But you can see it fakes out, man. You see that little pattern? That's why, you know, patterns just replicate. They turn into something else. And then it's not even a, you know, somebody would be calling for a head and shoulders, and then it becomes like a pennant or a flag or something else. And then it starts popping, right? That's probably what we're going to see here on GME following this POI. But you can kind of see that's the same structure on LRC. And they do follow each other very closely. I think with AMC, we follow Ethereum Classic. And with GME, there's a couple that do track very closely. I track Doge, I track LRC, I track Shiba. Those guys are going to be more closely related to GameStop than AMC. Okay. Here, let's do something. Let's do something because I want to show you guys. The spots indicator here on AMC's chart and show you guys where we are in the cycle. Okay, so we're going to come back to January again. Again, man, again. All right, let me take a screenshot. Okay, so I'm going to pull up January 2021, and we're going to compare it to AMC right now. We're going to pull it up right here, and we're going to overlay it on top. And I want you guys to pay attention to the spots indicator here just by itself. Pay attention to the blue, the pink, and the blue spot on this indicator. It's just another way to track this, because we've been tracking this for a little while and it's been extremely accurate. And why I think that in this sequence, I talked about how this portion of it, because we did not enter the point of interest yet, was going to be extended. Okay, so now that we entered the point of interest, it makes sense that we are here. Look at this. See how it's riding down and it's in the pink wave? It's in the pink wave right in there, and this is obviously extended. It's larger. So here's our blue spot. On the curve here, we have another blue spot. I'm trying to like line these up together. You can see it like this. Here we go. So Again, same thing. Looks very similar to Lucid's pattern as well. Crosses, comes down, and then it just rides this pink wave before it just rallies. That's why it's very important that we keep riding this wave and we bounce tomorrow. Because if this comes down, then the chances of this being another inverse point of interest are going to be great again. And then we have to wait for the next point of interest, right? It's been like that every single time here. It's just tracking these over and over again because we've seen a correlation in the past that they only happen in these zones. So that's a big deal. That's a big deal. Imagine narrowing down on what is considered, right, a theory still, even though the correlation is high, but narrowing down on volatility in the markets, on when it could potentially happen in the markets. And it's really just tracking the cycle here has to do a lot with option expiration dates. That's why it is the way it is. That's why it happens every 2 months, because it has an option chain. If this stock didn't have an option chain, it would be a lot different. It would be a different story to track it that way, right? Because option chains, derivatives, man, they do drive the hell out of a stock. Okay, so riding it down, we expecting a push tomorrow just like this. Why it's still valid? Because we are just entering the point of interest. I'll put it right up here for you guys. There it is. Cycle POI. You can see that we are entering it tomorrow. We entered it today, but I don't know. Oh, well, I know why, man. I know why. Because TradingView is moving my shit again. That's why. Okay. Here. I go on the 4 hour, and then it goes back to normal. Why? Why does it do that? It really messes up the whole thing. See? Look at that. It goes back. We're in the cycle already. We're in the point of interest. But do you see that? Do you see how it just like it fucks it up, dude? What the fuck? All right, anyways. Here are all the POIs. All the pretty POIs. 4 hour and the 3 hour were looking so good today on spots. I mean, just dude, look at these crosses and how they project the price action. If you want this indicator, by the way, click the link below. So blue rallies, pink, short-term pink or short-term blue indicate a very powerful move. So here you can see it's short, powerful move, gets faked out, and then this one comes all the way back down, and then it crosses. Look at this, crosses here, and then we have this 100%, right? It was like 100, almost 100% rally here on AMC, 70% rally on AMC. Comes back down, crosses, and look at this. Now we're coming up to a short pink curve again. Short pink curve, crosses blue. That is go time, dude. That is go time. Yeah, dude. 3 hour and the 4 hour on the blue on spots indicator. Massive, massive, massive. I track this on SPY too, because SPY on the weekly chart for SPY, this thing is like superior, dude. Look at this. On freaking SPY, bro. On SPY. Here it is. Cross. You have a market rally, and it just bounces off of it. It bounces off of blue. We got a correction. Short pink. What happens with short pink? Massive rally in the market. And then look at this. Bear market. Starts right here at 450. That was the signal here. Starts coming down. And then look. We're just riding it now, and we just crossed it again. We just crossed it. What have the last two, on the weekly, what have the last two pink curves done for us? Pink curve cross right here. Okay, I'm going to scale it to the current chart. That's a pink cross from the pink cross. And then this one right here from the pink cross. Right there as well. Bullish. See what else we got. Another one here. Pink cross. And it just rides. I mean, it just rides the wave, dude. Pink cross, short term. This one comes back in, but it still takes some time. Even 08, look at this. 08 didn't even cross it, bro. This is why I'm like, I don't like looking at this fractal here, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense from a pattern perspective here. The way they look up to this point is when it stopped tracking. Right here, if you were tracking the same fractal, a lot of people were still tracking it right here for it to come down. This is where it already crossed. We're already crossed. We're up here. So, you know, when stuff like that happens, you know, with fractals, you stop tracking them, because they don't, like, that is the indicator that the fractal has given up. There's no more, it doesn't have relevance to the current chart anymore. All right, let's see. Let's pull up the pattern scanner and do some scanning. Do some scanning, bro. And see what we got in store tomorrow. Anybody want to scan some stocks, man? And I'll pull it up here. We can scan some different intervals. Pull up SPY. We'll pull up all that and track it here and see what we can see what we got tomorrow in the markets. Obviously a crazy day people are expecting. So we got a couple of intervals to track. We got 3. At some point we are gonna add some more to it, but here's a little scanner. I gotta fit this real quick. Fit it here, make it pretty. There it is. Okay, that'll work. That'll work. All right, let's do so SPY. Like I said, I've already gone over this one, but so on the daily chart, it's going to take some time for it to give you something else, right? Until you stop tracking. We've been tracking this one forever. And this is why I'm still tracking it. We've been tracking it since December, right here, right around this point, and it projected all of this right up here. And it keeps projecting, it keeps tracking. So it's valid, right? It's valid because it's tracking the levels. Everything looks good. If I zoom out of the chart, you're going to see something like this. And it's still going to give you that projection here based on what we got. And most of them are calling for the same thing, right? There's only a few here that are calling for something completely different. But most of them are still calling for that upside. You can see this one right here, still calling for upside and then downside. All right, gotta check gotta check the chat here real quick. Zoom. Zam. I think I have it. No, I don't. So yeah, there's 1,500 stocks in here. I'm not gonna have everything. Just so you guys know, I do have Fubo. Xella. Look at that. 180. We got the 90 right here. Overall here, and I can just kind of show you the projection from far here. It'll kind of spit out. And these are all patterns, guys, that the scanner is actually looking for and finding the distance between them. So that's why they're accurate in the way that they seem, right? They're not just formulated patterns that have no correlation. Like, these are real stocks. I can go on the 1 hour. It'll tell me something else on the 1 hour. Pretty cool stuff. So Fubo, and you know, with Fubo, I'm gonna pull it up on the daily. The daily is the one that I use the most. You can see that the levels here, tracking the same levels is crucial. It's crucial to the pattern. The forecast right here is not going to. Right now, we're fixing the scaled forecast because the forecast is a little wonky. If the levels, the high and the low, are fitted a certain way, the projection here is not scanning. That there's a bug here on this version of it. So regardless of that, I would be able to see it here with that. It's only on a few that we have that problem, but everything else, and you know, the whole thing with this program is it'll scan the initial pattern. The forecast was like a little bonus, right? But the initial pattern is what's important, because then you can take that pattern, find it in the market, and then overlay it on your chart. And that is basically what I'm doing with a lot of the stocks that I have here. Here, let's do AMC. And AMC, I've been one of the ones that we've been tracking here on AMC is still here. It's still freaking here because it's like freaking accurate, bro. It's this one. And there's two versions of it that you can see. It's still calling for upside on the POI, but just different levels, because with volatility, guys, stocks, not every stock in the market is going to track the same volatility. Remember that. AMC is a special case. You don't see many stocks in the market do that. That Neo. So Mullen is another one that I don't have on here. So again, it's going to have most stocks, but there's going to be a few that are not in here. But it's a beta. It's a beta version. That's why I was telling everybody that you guys, if you could give me feedback, because it is going to come out, and want to make sure that everything here is good to go before it is fully published. Yeah, it is. It's a beta. I have Tesla. I have Nikola. I have Tesla. Look at that. Freaking Tesla right here on the 180. That's insane. I mean, guys, like, just being able to find patterns in the market that have already played out that pattern, that's freaking awesome, dude. That is freaking awesome. That is freaking awesome, dude. What's going on in the chat? What's going on in the chat? All right, let's go back. Let's go back. Let's take this away here. Let's go back. All right, let's read up on the chat. Let's see what's going on here. What do we got going on here on the chat? Here, I see a lot of gambling going on here. What is this? A lot of gambling words. What is this? What is going on? What is going on? No, so my whole thing with AMC is, yes, it's a play that has a lot of volatility, right? And volatility is high risk. It's a high risk play at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what anybody's saying about AMC. It doesn't matter what I'm saying about AMC. It's gonna be a play with volatility, as we've seen time and time again here on AMC. Even though we are able to spot and track what I call these points of interest here on AMC, where we see the volatility take place, it's not guaranteed to happen every single time is, look, these are all inverse point of interest. The red ones, they're all inverse. So that's where we see downside. We see downside. We see the complete opposite. And some you see just trade sideways because the market is not, there's no volatility in the market. So when there's no volatility in the market, you're going to see sideways price action on the points of interest, which is normal. It's something that we've experienced in the past before. So it's not about, like the whole reason why people do TA at the end of the day is to understand the potential a stock has and to find a good opportunity in the stock, and that's it. Like, this isn't like, if you're not doing TA, if you're not doing anything that backs up your plan in the beginning from the start, then yeah, I mean, at that point it's considered you're just gambling because you're hoping that something goes a certain way, or but without doing any sort of research or knowledge. The other way to look at it is the trade didn't go your way, and that's it. Is the trade didn't go your way because it's not always going to go your way. So that's not gambling right there, because you have a plan, you spent time on that plan, you went through with that plan, and now you have to learn from that plan. That's it. That plan that trade that did not go your way. I mean, that's really all it is, dude. That's AMC. We've been talking about all these things previously, and I made it very clear as well that it's important to pay attention to the volatility here, not direction. Even if you're bullish or bearish, whatever it is, it's the direction is. It's very important to pay attention to the volatility. Volatility is important. Algo TA, algorithm technical analysis. I mean, yeah, cycle analysis is just the approach I take. I take the technical analysis approach as well with levels and fib levels and stuff like that. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think it's technical analysis, and it's just your version of analyzing the charts and your perspective on analyzing the stocks, all these different stocks in the market. So yeah, man, doing it like that, and with the current outlook on AMC is bullish to me. It's bullish to me, and that's why I'm sharing my perspective. I'm sharing my perspective, and it's never advice, it never ever will be advice, but it's just the perspective, man, and that's what we do. We just bounce off of each other's ideas on here. That's the point. That's the goal. Is it trying to figure this out, trying to crack the code, Can't wait for Disco, man. Me too, man. Me too, man. Disco, man. Elephants in the chat, rockets in the chat, all that good stuff, man. We're gonna rally with the family. Okay, so a lot of questions about the price targets and stuff. So I don't like to give out price targets. I like to give out price potentials and call them that, like a potential level that AMC can reach based on fibs and based on levels of resistance, because in the past we have seen it behave that way. We have seen it hit certain fib levels. So that's the way I would treat it. That's the way I'm going to treat it. So we've, on the last video I talked about, this is one that I'm tracking right now on this ascending broadening wedge. And this one right here is going to be 11. It's the first level. So there's 4 that I'm tracking right now that could be candidates here in the short term. There's that one, which is 11. I'm going to just put them right here, 11. We also have the second level of resistance is 15 to 14. It's a range because this one is coming down right here. So this is the parallel channel that we have. The parallel channel on the macro chart is down, right around that $14 range. So I'm going to say 15 because we always see these wicks, right? These massive wicks that cross through and then get shut down very quickly. So it's, if that was an average I would track, it would be around the 15. And, just to make it simple, like pretty simple here with TA, I'm going to make this one 10 just so you guys can kind of see which that would be the average of it. And then the next level I would track would be all the way up here at 25 because 25 is a massive hedge that these guys did in June. So you can see that here on the volume profile. This would probably be maybe point of control is down here, but there would be a lot of volume around this range. So you can see that it would be a little bit hard to cross that immediately. So that would be considered a level of resistance. You can see it on volume profile here. You can see that there's a lot of air right in between. Why, if we cross 15, this thing is going to bust through? Because there's no volume. So when there's no volume, it's a lot easier to cross through. When there's a lot of volume, it's pretty simple in that, right? And then you see a gap over here. This would be resistance as well at 30. And then obviously anything above that, well, you would be getting extremely close to all-time highs, which means that the price would probably get up there, and then that itself becomes resistance. As far as the squeeze goes, nobody, like if AMC went out of control and started to squeeze out of control, and we threw everything away, like we threw the cycle away, we threw technicals away, everything away out the door, then at that point nobody can tell you where the price is going to go. There's just no way. That you can track fib levels, sure, you can track fib levels if you want, but fib levels are still not going to guarantee that the price is going to go there. We have fib retracements that we can track. The one that we tracked here was this one actually happened to play out, right? But that doesn't mean that we're going to get it the same way. But we used the same calculation here on the fib retracement and basically extended this all the way up until, all right, so where was it? Right around here somewhere. It was like 160, 180 based on those events here. And you can see that if I pull up, this is why fibs are important, but if I pull up the same fractal here, and now that we have the same structure here of the pattern, and I pretend like these were the lows of AMC, and say we come up to the 160 range. Do you see how these, now what we have here is we have all the levels hitting the same way as well. Okay, so down here, we come up first to reach resistance, and then we bust through all the way up, right? Which is the same thing that you see on this fractal, is the same structure. So that's why, like, a lot of patterns do replicate fib levels, and they give us those natural fib levels, what we call them. But yeah, again, they're just fib extensions that don't guarantee the price going there, and that's, again, the cycle would have to break. We would have to bust through all these levels very quickly, and things would have to go parabolic. And yes, that is possible. That is possible with a stock like AMC because it is heavily shorted. But you always have to remain and still from the realistic standpoint of just the way stocks behave, and we've seen them behave in the past, always be safe in that nothing is guaranteed, right? Nothing is guaranteed to do that. So you got to be careful, man. At the end of the day, it's a risky stock, but it's AMC, man. It's AMC. Anything could happen. Yeah, cost to borrow is at a very high number. It's in the 300s, I think. And then also days to cover is still on its way up. Which yes, those are indicators you can use that help in sort of narrowing down when we could see a push here on AMC. There has been a correlation with days to cover. Once it starts to come down, that typically is an indicator. You won't initially see it, but when it starts to come down, the price would have already came up, right? So that's not really an indicator, but AMC's hasn't came down yet. So that just tells you that, well, if it's still going up and it hasn't came down yet, well, the price still has to go up, right? Because at some point, days to cover has to come down. I mean, you got to cover your shares, bro. So that, yeah, shorts to cover. Now, I don't pay too much attention to a lot of data that's out there because, yeah, it could be manipulated in that, failure to delivers. High numbers of failure to delivers is a good thing, I think, for any stock because it just shows that there's a lot of shorts. They still haven't delivered their shares. So it just tells you that there's a lot of shorts on the stock. But the dates is what I don't pay attention to because dates are, it's a scam. I think that's a scam. But yeah, you want to see high numbers. AMC FTDs are high. They're really high this month and last month's. Early, I think the first half of January just came out yesterday. Those were extremely high. And same with Nikola, there's a lot of stocks, man, that have really high FTDs. Oh yeah, and for those like extreme, this is not a projection at all, but AMC does have what is called this megaphone, right? And the megaphone is just taking the resistance levels from November all the way up here, and look at that. I forgot to mention this, but the fib levels we just talked about was the 160 or 180. This would go with that, with the level of resistance. Again, I'm not calling for this. I want to make that very clear. I'm not calling for this at all. I'm just saying that this is considered a level of resistance if something like this were to happen. Like, not predicting or projecting where AMC would go if it did squeeze to crazy levels, but this would be one level of resistance I am tracking. That's why we called this one the megaphone a while ago because it has potential. AMC has done crazy things in the past before. We've seen it go parabolic before, so the possibilities are there. Yeah, I think this one's pretty relevant. I'll go over Mullen because Mullen. So Mullen was on the POI list last week, and we were tracking AMC, and we had the pattern down to a T because so this right here that you're looking at is AMC right here. Is AMC March of 2021. So we go back here. We go all the way up to March. Now I'm going to take this and watch. This pattern right here. This is why patterns work, guys. This is why patterns work. Fix the chart. There we go. Bam. What is this? This is classic classic Elliott wave pattern. So you can, I will say with Mullens, it's very particular because you do have a higher wick in the initial thing here. But you can look, we called for this for the downside and this initial bounce here on Mullen based on the structure of AMC's pattern. Okay, I use a lot of different patterns from AMC to sort of understand what stocks are going to do next. And once I have that overlaid with spots indicator and everything else, it's just a lot easier. It's a lot easier to identify these moves. So same thing here, right? We have our little. I am a huge fan of Elliott wave. Do you think it happens? Elliott wave impulse is my fave. Okay, there's 3, 5. You can see 3 and 5 are similar, and 1 in this case is a little bit bigger. But see, this is why it would be a little. This could pass as Elliott wave, but it can also, since it is higher, 1 is never higher than 3, but the structure is still played out. It's still the same. On AMC's, it is, because you can see the average here on 1, 3, and then 5, and then it's followed by what is called an ABC correction, which is just 1, 2, 3, bam. Okay, so that's a classic Elliott wave followed by an ABC correction. Okay, and that is what we have right now on Mullen. Now, Mullen is trading sideways, and I still see some sideways trading for a little while. I talked about this on the Discord as well today, and there is a possibility that the things start to happen very quickly here in the short term. It's possible, but Mullen does not follow the same cycle that I'm tracking for AMC. Now, that doesn't mean that Mullen can't go up. I just don't see a correlation between the two on the points of interest. They do track different points of interest. So that's why I'm currently not tracking Mullen to do anything crazy in the short term. But I could be wrong, and we could start to see some crazy price action in the short term. So I'll keep tracking this one, but it is on the list for me. I have still a couple of weeks out until things pan out here for Mullen to continue to go up. Overall, though, I'm bullish on Mullen. Like, just in general, I'm very bullish. I think it's developing this structure right here, right there, which is actually look. I'm gonna show you something, man. Look at this. So we can kind of see what's okay. Actually, this one is not finished, so we can't. I don't know if we can use it. Yeah, we can't use it because it's not. I mean, we don't have anything on GME now. With GME, just because it's a point of interest, it's not calling for direction. But here we would just, based on what I can see, that this is like a triple bottom setup. And you kind of there has to be some kind of symmetry as well on these triple bottom setups or head and shoulders, whatever. This one's, I think, a little too early still. Even if it came up, I still think it's got a little bit more to go. Potentially maybe like early March or like late February or something for Mullen. I am tracking something for next month specifically. It's just a POI, but as far as like a massive push to the upside, I'm going to show you AMC's fractal that I have here. Where is it? Here it is. So here's the entire AMC fractal, and you can see on AMC what I would be tracking would be the June run up here for if it tracked this to a T, which we're starting to see it stray away a little bit, almost like it's playing out inverse here. So this is why you only track fractals up to a certain point. When they stop tracking, they're not valid anymore. That's why I'm not putting all the faith here on this fractal, but up to this point, and there are a couple of other ones that I am tracking that do call for some more upside. But yeah, I mean, I go over all these stocks, guys, on the Discord, and every single day I go live. All the plays that I send out and stuff is it something that it's my job. I mean, I do this every single day. So if you guys do want to check all this stuff out, more like in-depth analysis, you want the access to the indicators, the pattern scanner, um, daily live streams, plays, all that good stuff. You guys can check out the link below. Discord, hit it up, man. Hey Barbara, that would be a fun little thing, man. I've gone live with a few others before. I've been wanting to to do that. I've been wanting to get on with just to get everybody's perspective, but the people that got me involved in on this were Astro and Rico. They were the ones that got me exposed to you guys. I mean, I'm forever thankful for those guys, because without the help of that exposure, like getting that exposure, yeah. I mean, so I've done lives with those guys. I've yet to do one with Booksy. I've been wanting to do one with him as well. Dave, good old Dave, man. Those guys are they're great. I want to get their perspective more on what they have to say. I think bounce off of each other ideas, man. That's the way to go. That is the way to go. You bounce off of each other's ideas and narrow it down, man. Narrow it down. I'm actually going live, well, not live, but got a little Discord call here with Rico soon. Get on with my boy. Yeah, it's really just about sharing the perspectives we all have. From I used to be on a Discord with all those guys um, earlier in the last year, and yeah, we they all have really interesting ideas and perspectives and approaches that they take in the markets. And it's important that you look at everybody's, because you never know what you're going to resonate with, right? You don't have to follow what I'm doing. You don't have to follow what everybody. You follow what you're doing, man. You follow what you resonate with the most, what you believe. You're here to you're here for you, man. You're here to do it for you. It's important that you do your own DD at the end of the day, and never use this as confirmation bias. Never. That sounds familiar. Yeah, somebody else had told me that as well. Uh, dude, I feel like he was on the Discord, man. I swear, I've seen that name somewhere. Ants, yeah. I don't know. I'd have to reach out to him to see if he was on the Discord, because I've definitely seen that, like, whatever profile, what do you call it? That, like, picture or whatever. I might just be. Don't quote me on this, but I'm literally might just. Maybe I had like deja vu or something, but I feel like I've seen that somewhere, and I feel like I've seen his name somewhere as well. I definitely have to see what he's up to, what he's doing, what his cycle cycle perspective is. Cycle analysis too, really? Okay, guys. Yeah, late night freaking stream here. We're gonna leave it here for today. And I will update you guys tomorrow, man. Who knows? I might be live and streaming and seeing, if everything is according to layout. Obviously, I'm not gonna leave you guys hanging or anything. If we start to rally, we're gonna rally with the family, right? That's how it's gonna go. So yeah, stay tuned for that, man. Other than that, I'm gonna leave it here for this stream, and hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you drop a like on the way out. Okay. All right, guys. Have a good night. See you tomorrow.